Died suddenly. Full disclosure, I am always honest and I'm blunt. I've known Stu Peters' content for a while. And there's no judgment whatsoever. There's just critical assessment. My critical assessment sometimes, it's the nature of the beast. He is quite dramatic. He's quite theatrical. And the one incident that I had as a matter of fact and substance was back, holy crap, it's a year and a half ago, when Pat King went on the Stu Peters show and claimed to have, found the solution to COVID. He was going to end the COVID lockdown measures once and for all globally, and laid out a plan. This is all you have to do. He had gotten a ticket for some COVID protocol violation. He thought he purported to have beat the ticket when he actually didn't. He subpoenaed, it was either Dina Henshaw or Bonnie, one of the provincial medical officers. He went on the Stu Peters show, and the both of them sort of went a little heavy on the idea that they beat COVID, that this is what you have to do to end the lockdowns everywhere, and it's going to happen. It didn't happen. As a matter of fact, they were both wrong. And I noted it at the time and said, look, Pat King didn't beat his ticket. I didn't know that he actually had to pay his ticket. I just knew at the time he didn't beat it. He just issued a subpoena that actually was quashed. And I took a little bit of flack for saying, no, what Pat King thinks he did, he didn't actually do. I took some flack from people saying, Viva, you're spoiling the inspiration. People need inspiration right now. They don't need a wet blanket. And I said, nobody needs inspiration if it's factually incorrect and misleading inspiration. He was on Pat's show, and let me see here. Pat claimed to take down Alberta Health Services single-handedly when he actually got laughed out of court. I don't need to say it that judgmentally. Yes, Pat made a mistake. It either got misunderstood, was misexpressed. I don't need to attribute intentions. It doesn't matter. So that was my last experience with the Stu Peters show. I've watched it. He's got some very interesting guests and communicates some very interesting information. That being said, I always have that in the back of my mind. I watch everything skeptically. Stu Peters, CNN, MSNBC, fellow law tubers. I watch everything skeptically, especially when I probably am more inclined to believe it, and especially when I want to believe it. I'm very self-reflective when it comes to this. I grill myself harder than most people grill me. I know what I believe in my heart of hearts. I know what I believe based on my experience, the evidence that I've seen, the interviews that I've conducted. You all can probably surmise what I believe. We know what I believe. I know what I want to believe as well. And watching the Died Suddenly documentary, I know that I've seen a lot of people dying suddenly. I know that I've been reading a lot about people dying suddenly. I know that I've been seeing Justin Bieber getting Bell's palsy, that lawyer from the convoy, vaxxed to the max, collapsing in real time for the world to see, and from what I understand, still has not returned to being a lawyer at the convoy. Lots of people dying suddenly. The author of Julie and Julia dying of a heart attack after a bout with COVID, after being jabbed, boosted so many times. I know what I've seen. I know what I believe. And the documentary Died Suddenly is confirming what I already believe and what I truly feel is reality right now. And so I have to approach it with even more skepticism than something that I don't believe. Bell's palsy is caused by all sorts of things. Mine came from shingles. Yes, and shingles is caused by all sorts of things. I'm not saying, Rock, I have a family member who got Guillain-Barré syndrome. Not from the jibby jab. This was before. You can get GBS, you can get Bell's palsy, you can get shingles from any viral infection. You can get it from any vaccine. Legit, I mean, vaccines that actually work. You can get it from a tetanus shot. The issue is not that you can get it from any vaccine. It's that we're being told that you can't get it from this particular shot. I'm no longer calling it a vaccine. So lots of things cause lots of things. Yeah, lots of things cause heart attacks, stress, isolation, lack of good exercise, lack of good diet. I'm going to star this comment because we're going to get back to it, because I know what I believe, a lot of things that I've seen empirically that I've known. I've had discussions with doctors, with healthcare professionals who don't want to come forward. And they say the things I've seen would blow your mind, but I can't talk about it because I will literally lose my license. I'm not an asshole to say you're a coward, ruin your life and come forward. And nor am I the one who's going to secretly record these conversations to put on blast someone who doesn't want to go public. That's not my thing. That's not my shtick. Someone else can do that. I know what I know. I know what I know that I sometimes allude to, but don't state as fact because it's anecdotal and I don't have the sources who want to come forward. I know what I have seen confirmed in mainstream media. Neonatal deaths skyrocketing in Scotland. They don't know what's causing it, but somehow they know what's not causing it. Deaths of unknown causes now leading the deaths in Alberta above dementia and above COVID. They don't know what's causing it, but they can say what's not causing it somehow. Excess deaths in New Brunswick. Oh, hold on. Actually, I want to bring this one up. The excess deaths in New Brunswick. You will recall we talked about this multiple times. I'm going to see if I can find the original article. Excess deaths, New Brunswick. Because what's an amazing thing is they come out with the bad news. Oh, look at this unbelievable bullshit, people. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry about swearing. I'm sorry because I don't have the window up. I'm cranky again today. So listen to this. We went over this article before. Excess deaths in New Brunswick during pandemic need study, experts say. National health and population academics are pointing to high excess mortality numbers as an important riddle for provinces to solve in their understanding of the human cost of the COVID-19 pandemic. But New Brunswick, with some of the most puzzling numbers in Canada, is resisting the idea it has underreported deaths. New Brunswick had reported an abnormal number of excess deaths for a quarter. I forget the month. Because what ended up happening, let me just see here. What ended up happening, as you can imagine, what date is this? They report news that's not good news. That doesn't make things look proper. And then what happens afterwards? Oh, here, look at this. Look at this. Major revisions required in pandemic death counts. They report bad news, and then a few weeks after the initial story, CBC has to come in. White knight for the government. Major revisions required in pandemic death counts. A problem unique to New Brunswick. Oh, they don't actually have an excess death problem. They have a problem as to how they counted deaths. Statistics Canada says low quality data from New Brunswick likely to trigger downward revision of excess deaths numbers. Oh, that's convenient. They come out with the bad news, then they have to come out with an explanation or revise the original bad news. Expect something similar for what's going on in Alberta. Oh, it's not unknown causes. We misspoke. It was actually, they were unreported COVID deaths. And now look at that. COVID's going to go from number 3 after dementia and unknown causes back to number 1. Because those unknown causes, it was our mistake. They were actually COVID deaths. New Brunswick suffered the highest fatality rates in Canada in late 2021 and early 2022. You know what they were doing at that same period of time? Take a guess. According to ongoing estimates from Statistics Canada, but the agency acknowledges it has been struggling with the accuracy of its New Brunswick pandemic death counts and is uncertain how reliable the province's shockingly high numbers really are at the moment. This is an issue unique to New Brunswick. Let me just go and see in real time, people. Alberta, unknown death. Well, here, someone else is coming to... we've already seen this. No evidence rise in deaths due to unknown causes in Canada is linked to the COVID-19 vaccines. Can you imagine when people say there's evil in the world, the banality of evil? We don't know what's causing it, but we've ruled out the most likely, the most obvious culprit. We don't know. It's still unknown, but we know that it's not linked to the jibby jab. How do we know that? Don't ask me. I'm not a doctor. See, and if I could see just general frustration leading to heart conditions, because this is enough to make you have an aneurysm. I was watching someone else's video. Sorry, they call those who work at MSM urinalists. Oh, I get it. We're all going to get back to the We're going to get back to so that's I know what I believe already. And so when I see something that reaffirms what I believe, it's not a question of being less scrutinizing. It's a question of being more scrutinizing. Okay, sorry. I wanted to get to this. As a disabled veteran, I attend many events, so all will count against me. So as a disabled veteran, I attend many events. Are they still? Okay, they're on lunch. I got my other computer. I'm just watching the... Okay, so died suddenly. I'll give credit. It's extremely well done. Good music, good editing, compelling, good what they call bokeh, like the blurred lights in the background, good depth of field. It's professionally done documentary. So that's it. On the yep. Let it. How did you get 3 comments in 10 seconds? Don't I have slow mode on? It's well done. Period. From the analytic level, I'm going to spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but go watch it. You already know the spoiler alert. They've got morticians, or the people who work at embalmers, not morticians, embalmers, talking about how they are noticing very unique, very peculiar, literal horror movie stuff. Clots, fibrous sort of, they describe it as the texture of calamari, hard, rubbery, stringy clots, which they're not blood clots, but they are fibrous, squid-like, calamari-like substances in the veins that do clot the arteries. So they call it clots, but it's not a blood clot. And they're noticing these things, and according to the embalmers, according to the morticians, if that's the word, they've never seen them in there. And some of them have 40 plus years of experience. They've never seen them until now. They're seeing them now. And they're seeing as they drain the blood from the deceased. They say it looks like dirty blood, like there's sand in it. But there's a number of graphic images where they're pulling the blood clots out of the veins of the one is a real autopsy image, and it's like, it's like it would be like a pimple popping video fetish if it weren't so devastating and disastrous. What it is, they're pulling these long clots out of, and they're long like 6-8 inches. I think one of them they said was 3 feet long, pulling them out of veins, out of arteries of deceased individuals who, I don't know how you survive with something like that in your body, but I guess at some point you survive until you don't. And that's it. That seems to be the phenomenon that, people were calling the jibby jab the clot shot for a long time. And according to the people in the documentary, they're noticing these types of clots. The premise of the film is that they're attributing these clots, whatever they are, to the jibby jab. Whereas a lot of people are going to say, well, it could be the result of the Rona itself. In the movie, they say, like one of the leading embalmer, or the leading mortician guy, says that he's been doing these on people who allegedly have not gotten the Rona. Everyone's argument is going to be, well, everyone's gotten the Rona. Whether or not you did, you probably got it anyhow. And so, hey, how do you determine if these clots are from a man-made virus that was genetically modified in a lab in Wuhan, China, versus the genetically modified jibby jab that they've concocted in record time with no meaningful testing, apparently? They haven't yet done the trials on myocarditis. How do you know it's not caused by that? So you're always going to have this issue in terms of demonstrating it. First, the issue is there, in fact, a clot problem? There would seem to be, because Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, identified the problem, recommended that, in Johnson & Johnson's case, that middle-aged women, don't take Johnson & Johnson because it increases the likelihood of clots. What are the clots? Well, I can presume that the clots that Johnson & Johnson had an issue with probably look something like these demonic, alien-form clots. If this were a horror movie, it would not be written any differently. It would be, we found a solution. Here's the solution. And once this is in your body, it starts to like the thing out of the thing. The thing out of the thing. These, it looks like squids, octopus being pulled from human veins. Once it's in your body, it's literally the stuff of horror movies. You can get an antibody test to see if you've had COVID, but only for a certain period of time after COVID. It doesn't last forever. That's why they insist everyone take the jibby jab, so there's no control group. That's one of the ways they allegedly tainted some of the trials by jabbing the placebo group. So anyways, that's it. The movie has 5 or 6 main characters who document what they've been witnessing, and that is abnormal clots, excess death rates among middle-aged men, working-aged men. And the question is the phenomenon here? I don't think many people can disagree with that the phenomenon is here. The one thing you can rely on for accurate stats, underwriters. Insurance companies will make money or lose money depending on how accurately they assess risk and pay out risk. And if they're saying, holy jibby jabs, we're paying out a shit ton more than we've ever paid out before because there's an excess rate of death among those who are the least likely to need insurance on the underwriting scale of risk, well, they're going to know. And when they say certain things, you can know that that's much more reliable than government stats because one answers to the almighty buck and the other one answers to nobody. And here, Beth, noise. 100 massive clot, but also screws up your T cell immunity. And then there's discussion about whether or not we're seeing spikes in certain types of very aggressive cancers. And I don't think anybody can deny that. I don't think that element is up for denial. Now the question is going to be, is it a spike in cancers because people had not gotten diagnosed because they were too scared to go to the hospital for the last 3 years, and therefore cancers that might have been diagnosable 3 years ago are now in advanced aggressive stages? Maybe. Other people are going to say, is the jibby jab triggering some form of immunological response or decreasing some form of immunological defense that's resulting in this? Or, hey, maybe this. Maybe it's a perfect storm of both. Yeah, God love ye, Vivi. Holy jibby jabs. I would put that on a shirt, but I'm not putting that on a shirt. Oh, I like your avatar, actually. So that's it. The documentary is great. I'll tell you, I watch it with a great degree of skepticism because I need to put in check that which I believe and or want to believe. There's a whole montage of people collapsing in the movie, and it's horrifying. I mean, it's horrifying. Do I share one of my... do I share this thought? I have to. I just said it. So one of the more traumatic videos, back when the internet was in its infancy, the only thing the internet was good for was shock videos and naked women. That's what the internet was. The internet is for porn from Avenue Q. But it used to be, you had these websites, Augrish. You had websites, LiveLeak. Before LiveLeak was a mainstream media outlet website, it was what the internet was known for in terms of, like, you want to see the worst stuff on earth? That's where you go to see it. The internet came about when I was like, I want to say 13, give or take. So I remember from early days, kids are kids. Kids are stupid. Humans have an obsession with mortality, and the internet was where you could go. Hey, you see that video of the kid getting hit by a train? And one of the videos that I remember having seen in my younger years was an individual who got run over by a train, and the individual was dead. I mean, I don't know how there was even movement, but the body was on one side of the track and the other half was on the other side of the track. But the individual was still, like, in some sense, still had nerve endings and looked to be like punching at the sky. And that image traumatized me as a child, or as however old I was, traumatized me. This montage of people collapsing triggered that memory in my head because a lot of them, for whatever the reason, I don't know what happens when you have a stroke or you have a heart attack or you collapse, but they all started, like, reaching their hands for the sky. Many of them were spinning in circles and then collapsed. A number of them collapsed and fell into oncoming trains or metros, which is the movie's quite graphic, that montage. But watching that montage, you need to make sure that what you're seeing is what you're being told you're looking at. So on the one hand, we know that certain things are happening, but are we relying on videos that are either taken out of context or actually predate the incident? So that, that type of skepticism. If you want to be skeptical about the movie, you have a half dozen recurring characters. So you have to say, like, oh my God, in a world of 8 billion people with however many hundreds of millions of professionals, why are there not more people? Why are there not more, what are they called? Embalmers coming out? Why is it the same half dozen that we've seen? And so you have to, you can ask yourself the question, do they have a reason for doing this that's less than pristine? Why are there not more people coming out if this is such a prevalent problem? If all embalmers, I keep losing the word. If all embalmers are seeing this, why are there not more coming out talking? Why are there not more doctors coming out talking about it? There's that level of skepticism. I'm more inclined to think that there are very few people who want to come out and have the spotlight shined on them. Like, I need to get the names of the people in the movie because I want to have them on for interviews. And then you look, you watch some of the video footage of them pulling these clots from these corpses, and it's shocking. It's graphic. It's upsetting. But then the question is it like, there's 8 billion people on Earth. Some of them are going to have conditions. Some of them are going to just be fundamentally unhealthy. So are we looking at these videos getting, what is the word? Ephemerally shocked, repulsed, and then making rules out of what are the absolute exceptions? I ask myself these questions. And above and beyond the one-offs or the single examples, we're seeing the stats in real time. It's becoming undeniable. What's just shocking to me is they still keep pushing it. And people are not only doing it again, and again, they're doing it to their kids again and again. We know that it interferes with menstrual cycles. We just know it now because they finally admitted what people knew for the last 2 years. That does things. When something impacts your menstrual cycle, it follows to reason, unless you're an idiot, that it can impact something else, pregnancies. And they keep pushing it. They keep pushing it, even though they have now come out and basically said, we don't know if it causes myocarditis. We're going to do those trials now. But in the meantime, keep taking it.